So if you're an African American or an American living abroad and you're worried about what is happening with the USD, in this video, I'm going to tell you how I am adjusting and preparing accordingly. So many of you have joined the channel and welcome. From my last content shared about the BRICS economic GDP surpassing that of the G7 GDP. And a lot of people are wondering, what do I do now? How do I adjust? How do I acclimate and position myself so that I am not in a bad situation? And I feel you. None of us really know what is to come, but in this video, I'm going to share what I am doing and some of the things that I'm working on doing to make sure that I am prepared for the unexpected. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ashley. On this channel, Ashley in Africa, I talk about my experience living, moving, and doing business here on the continent of Africa. I'm the founder of the Africa Investors Academy, a community of entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and investors that are doing business, growing their business, and investing on projects here on the continent of Africa. So if that sounds interesting to you, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this content, and share it with someone who would also find value in it. And if this is one of your first few videos, you don't know, but I love to share content from my holiday. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm here in the lovely island of Zanzibar, Tanzania, actually kind of holidaying, enjoying, relaxing, but also doing some site visits for our upcoming Africa Investors Academy Summit here in Zanzibar in August of 2023. So if that sounds interesting to you as well, the links are below for you to learn more about that summit. We've got a ton of feedback, a ton of great response, and we're actually selling out. So if you're interested in joining us here in Zanzibar in August, be sure to secure your spot now. But let's jump into the content. So there's a lot of concern, a lot of fear, and the content that I share is not to project fear, nor is it to create kind of this alarmist energy, right? But it is to say these are things that we should be focusing on. And as a native born American, geopolitics and the geo economy is like the global economy is not something that I was really familiar with in the US. And I think that that's quite intentional, based on the way in which America as a society, as a country, as a culture functions. And so it's no longer to place blame or to project blame on anybody, but it's to say, how can we prepare ourselves for what is to come, right? What is unknown? And for me, the number one thing is to do research on the BRICS economy and the new shift in the change of the US dollar being the reserve currency. So a lot of media has come out over the last couple of weeks of countries that are confirming trading with other countries, allies in their local currency. So at one point, commodities could only be traded in USD. And countries are now saying, no, we're not doing that. So recently it came out, and I linked one of those articles below. I'll link another video below that Tanzania is trading with India in its Tanzanian shilling and the Indian ruble. They're trading commodities. That's huge. And so a lot of countries are doing that around the world as well as here on the continent. So do your research, understand what that looks like, and understand what high value commodities are available, what countries are producing those, and get familiar with the landscape. The next thing is to plan a trip, plan a discovery trip, have your passport ready and take a trip. Sitting idle and in the US and thinking that you're going to be able to make some moves is unrealistic, and in fact it's just it's impossible, right? You can't know what you don't know. So get out of your comfort zone, get on a plane and go to one of these countries in the BRICS nation or affiliated with the BRICS nation to understand the climate, the market, the opportunities that exist. Now in the Africa Investors Academy, I share a lot of content around different African countries, including South Africa, Tanzania, Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria. That list is growing, but There's nothing like doing your own research. And I'm doing my best to supply the content to people, but I recommend that you get on the ground and you experience the markets for yourself to explore the opportunities that exist that feel the most comfortable for you. You gotta do your research. So get on a flight while your passport is still the most powerful passport in the world. I'm speaking to Americans directly so that you can see what's out there and what's available for you. And then explore your options, right? So explore your options, your assets. Personally, real estate in the US right now is just looking really interesting. Um, you know, Certain insurance companies that are invested in more than just government bonds and low yielding assets, I think are doing okay. But you've got to look at your portfolio, right? Your stocks. Which countries are these companies operating in? Are they only American based companies? And if so, they're probably going to struggle in the stock market. So big tech companies are kind of fluctuating right now. Retail companies based in the US are struggling right now. So if you're still invested in stocks, which I do think, are okay, companies that have a global footprint are the ones that will balance out, right? And so index funds can also be a great strategy, but I do think paying a good close attention to some of the stocks that have global footprint makes the most sense. Crypto, is a wild card, but there are a lot of different cryptocurrencies that are innovative and that are looking at the future of global currency exchange, what that could look like for the blockchain, and they're affiliated with those. So look at those, pay attention to those. And then alternative currencies. So there are global currencies that are exchanged. I think Earn Your Leisure put out a list of like the top global currencies that are exchanged, and having some global currency never hurt a person, so that way you're a little bit more tapped into the countries and their currencies and how they're operating in their monetary system. I've got a couple different currencies in my portfolio. They're African currencies. I'm invested on the continent of Africa. So those are the currencies that I hold, the South African rand, Tanzanian shilling. Um, and, that's what I'm doing, right? The next thing is land. So one of the things that we're doing in the Africa Investors Academy Summit is looking at land projects and different opportunities that exist here in Zanzibar to be able to produce foreign income from people from all around the world. So Zanzibar is a global destination visited by people all over the world: North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, South America, all over the continent. And so when you have an asset in a place like Zanzibar, you're going to be visited by people all over the world who have currency from all over the world. So diversifying your income through multiple currencies is a great way to be comfortable with economic shifts. And then one of the last things is commodities, right? So looking at high value commodities, countries that are producing high value goods, high value crops, oil, alternative energy, coffee, avocados, superfoods, livestock, right? High value commodities that are going to be traded no matter what, because people have to eat, people will consume food, fruits, vegetables, high value crops. Investing in land, agriculture, or commodities is a great way, again, to diversify yourself with your current USD. I don't necessarily speak a lot about precious metals. And I think people are kind of shocked, like, oh, I'm not talking about gold and silver and et cetera, platinum. And having had a great kind of a interesting experience with the history of the mining industry on the continent, it's a bit of a challenge for me to kind of advocate for holding on to those, knowing just the sacrifice that goes into the men and women that are in that industry. So it's the same with commodities, farmers, but you know, again, this is not advice. This is simply information. So me, myself, I don't spend a lot of time looking at that as a commodity just because it's a personal conflict of mine. But, there are other things that, as I mentioned, you could explore. And if precious metals is something that you're interested in, again, do your research. I hope this is helpful. I hope this is valuable. If so, please be sure to like the content. Um, the next thing, how am I going to prepare for this USD shift, right? Multiple residencies. I talk about this in other videos and actually just did an interview with a really big publication I'm so excited about. So that will be coming out soon and I'll be sure to announce it here on the channel. But they asked me, why multiple residencies? And I know this isn't a traditional thinking way or traditional operation system, but for people that decide to live globally and a global life and have a global business, multiple residencies is just like having multiple properties around the world, right? It is a luxury, but it is also a great way to diversify yourself in the event of global shifts, right? And so that's a way that we're working on it. We're working on making sure that we can earn multiple currencies in multiple countries during unexpected times. So, how do you get additional residencies? You can get them by investment, you can get them by marriage, you can get them by work permits, whether that's a digital nomad visa. There are a lot of different ways. I'd say again, do your research, but it's absolutely something that we're working on here on the continent to make sure that we're ready for the unexpected. And the last thing is to get global clients, right? So I hope you have a skill, you're working on developing a skill that can attract global clients. You're able to earn foreign currency and you're able to work with people all over the world. That is how you diversify yourself from the US dollar. So there, again, many ways that I mentioned here. But just to recap, how am I doing this? How should you be doing this? Do your research, plan discovery trips to other countries that have different opportunities that are appealing to you, and explore those options, explore the assets, the ways of doing business, the ways of living in those countries, and see how it can most benefit you. Look into multiple residencies as an option, whether that's by investment, work permits, or even retirement, right? There are options that exist for you. And then be sure to have a skill set that allows you to earn a foreign currency no matter where in the world you are. I absolutely advocate and believe in being a continuous learner and an optimist, as well as recognizing that I am an abundant being and opportunity, money, income, advantage is flowing to me regularly, frequently from multiple sources every day. And this is not a time to be afraid. This is a time to pay attention, to tap into your creativity, your highest self, and to take action. Don't get stunted by fear. Do not get, frazzled or crippled by paranoia. Take action and do something for the future of your family and your well-being and your legacy. So if this was helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you would like to learn more, connect with a community of people that are doing business here on the continent, be sure to check out the Africa Investors Academy. It's a membership-only community where I'm able to share a bit more strategic ways in which we're doing things here on the continent. And I'd love to support you if that is of interest. Until the next video, I'll see you soon.